Hey everybody, welcome back to the Peskies Pest Control Podcast. And today we're doing another one of our local business spotlights where we highlight one of our local companies in the area that's doing great things, reaching out, helping people. And today I'm excited to have on the show with me Mr. Ryan Greer, who is with ServPro of Montgomery. Ryan, how are you this morning?
I'm good, Travis. How are you, man? Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Well, welcome. We appreciate you taking the time out to join us. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you came to be with ServPro of Montgomery.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised here in the Tri-County area. I was in retail for a long time, and my daughter was born. And, when you have younger kids, you really – retail life is very difficult on children. So had a conversation with her mom, and we prayed about it a lot, and asked God to open the door for us. And a couple of weeks later, a friend of mine called and said, "Hey, man, there's a company here locally named ServPro that is needing someone in the Autauga County area. I know you're from Prattville. Think you'd be great for it. What do you think about coming in and interviewing for it?" So that's how I ended up here.
Awesome. Well, sometimes same things just work out in the best way that they possibly can. So that's great. So how long has ServPro of Montgomery actually been servicing the local community of the River region?
Yeah, so as you may know, ServPro's franchise. So
Right.
there's over 2,200 locations nationwide. Our ownership group here has been it's a family business, has been in the area, the Montgomery Tri-County area, since the mid-'80s. So coming up on 40 years now, pretty good chunk of time.
Oh, wow. So they have seen a lot of things happen in 40 years, but that's great to know. I know you see ServPro's logos in a lot of different places. You see them, at sporting events, you see them on the television, just in general commercials, and it does make you think of a large company, and it is. However, you still have that local ownership, that franchise ownership that gives it that real personal touch, and that I think sets it apart from some of the other, larger companies as well. So what else sets ServPro apart from other companies? Is there anything that ServPro does to give back to the communities or to really help in local communities?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great companies out there. One of my main focuses is actually community involvement. We do anything from a lot of the local the golf tournaments. We're pretty involved with the hospitals, Baptist, Jackson, both. We're involved with the Y, pretty heavily involved with the YMCA. Really, anything that I can be involved with community-wise is something I'm going to jump at the chance to be involved with. It's just something very close to me. So, and that is one of the wonderful things I get to do every day.
Right, and that's a lot of great organizations and places that you listed there. So that's really cool that ServPro kind of has their hand in helping out with that. So, for those unfamiliar with ServPro and what it does, kind of give us a list. What does ServPro of Montgomery do as far as a range of services that you guys typically do offer to people in need?
Yeah, so I tell everybody, as far as commercially or residentially both, we can handle anything above the slab. Of course, our bread and butter is going to be the water, fire, and the mold mitigation.
Right.
But we actually have a construction department here. Not all ServPros have it. But we're lucky that we have one here locally that we can handle anything from sheetrock to paint to flooring to roofing, framing, all that good stuff. So, anything above the slab we can handle.
That's awesome. So you guys don't necessarily have to subcontract anything out. You keep it all in-house and you get it done. And that homeowner or that business owner is only dealing with one group, one company, instead of having to go through a whole bunch of different subcontractors and groups. I'm sure that makes it a lot more easy and streamlined for the customers.
Yeah, it seems to. Now we do subcontract some things. We've got people in house that can handle, the flooring removal and all that. But like you said, it's very important to be involved through the process the entire way. We don't have this company that comes in and the customer's got 3, 4, 5 different people they're dealing with. They deal with us, and we handle everything from top to bottom, from beginning to end.
Awesome. Well, what would you say in your experience of working with ServPro? what would you say are the most common types of emergencies that you have seen, in your work there?
Yeah. So day to day, like I mentioned earlier, water mitigation is a huge part of what we do every day. Unfortunately, there are a number of water sources coming into your home that people just don't realize. Anything from a hose on a dishwasher or a refrigerator line that creates all that ice that we just can't live without. Of course, your shower pan leaks. And more in the summer, we see air conditioner leaks where the drain may get clogged and overflow and kind of flood. And that's the water part's going to be what we deal with more than anything else.
Okay, so walk us through that process. So you receive a call from someone who's having that type of issue, whether it's their home or whether it's their business. And, from the time that they pick up the phone and they call ServPro of Montgomery, what's the process from the time you start to the time that whole situation is done?
Yeah, so I'll just take, for instance, if you call me on my phone. First thing I'll do is I'll get some information from the homeowner as far as just basic information. Do you know where the water's coming from? What kind of flooring is involved? How many rooms has it gone into? Has the water source been stopped? That's one thing that's very important because I'm not going to send a crew out. I'm not going to dispatch a crew out if the water source hasn't been stopped, because it's not going to do me any good to start, sucking up all the water and drying everything out when the water continues to come in. It builds a bill, and it's just we choose not to do it that way. So
right.
We want to make sure that water source is cut off first, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'll call one of our I'll either call our office, kind of tell them what's going on. I'll speak to our project managers, give them a heads up on what's happening so they know what to load on the vans, and we'll go out to the home and assess it that way and get our eyes on it. And, that starts the whole process to go from there.
Awesome. All right. So I know you mentioned, when we were talking earlier about some of the service offerings that ServPro of Montgomery has, fire, water, mold remediation, that sort of thing. Let's talk a little bit about the mold. So what are some common misconceptions that people have? Maybe they've discovered that they have a mold problem in their house. Is there some things, mistakes maybe, or misconceptions that people have about it? I mean, obviously we know mold's not healthy to be around, right?
Yeah. One of the most, I think one of the biggest things that we see is somebody will see some microbial growth, and the first thing they do is they run to Home Depot and they get a certain product that says, it handles it 100% effective and all this, and
right.
And I'll come to find out they spray it on there and they wipe it down, and they come back a month later, 5 or 6 weeks later, and not only is it still there, but it's come back, and it's come back stronger than it did before. First thing we want to do is, call the professionals, kind of just so we can come out there and get an eyes on it and kind of go from there. That's got to be the biggest misconception is you can just spray whatever you want on it and it's going to go away and everything's going to be fine.
We have that same kind of misconception on our side in our industry with pest control. There's a lot of times where folks go to a chain store, whether it's Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, and they go to the pest control aisle and they see something that says, eliminates cockroaches. And if you've ever had a German cockroach infestation, which I'm sure in your work with ServPro, you've probably seen some pretty nasty ones here and there. But I always tell people, yes, there are things on the market that will kill cockroaches, but should they be used to kill cockroaches? No, they shouldn't. And I'm sure that pretty much every industry that has any portion of a DIY market has that same problem. So, we see it a lot though. But other than those main, like you said, bread and butter type things like fire, water, mold remediation, are there any other specialized, more like niche services that ServPro offers? Biohazard cleanup, stuff like that.
It's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, we actually do offer biohazard cleanup. It's not one of those things that people may realize or maybe sometimes don't even want to talk about. But unfortunately, the time comes when that sort of material will need to be cleaned up. We can handle that. We can handle board ups in case of Somebody tries to break in or anything like that. So we can handle the board ups. We do have a roofing department as well that can tarp it in an emergency situation. Tree falls on your home. What do we need to do? We'll get out there. We'll get that tree taken care of. We'll get your roof tarp. We'll get your home secured, and kind of go from there.
Now, what about someone has a large issue with a fire or water in their home, and maybe it gets in their office. They've got important, documents, pictures, things like that. Do you guys do any work on that sort of thing?
Yeah, we do. So we do document drying. We have a process, a very specific process to clean out those, to dry out those documents. Sometimes we have to send them off to a warehouse in another area but it is a ServPro warehouse to dry it out. We can clean the duct systems. That's important too. A lot of people don't understand, or they may not realize, when you have a fire and your air conditioner's on, your air conditioner grabs that soot and it's pulling it through that return, and it throws it into every room of your house. So that's another thing we do as well, is we offer that dryer vent cleaning and the air conditioner duct system cleaning as well.
Cool. So, we talked about all the problems that ServPro, mitigates for customers, for homeowners, for business owners. But does ServPro do any type of work with, say, commercial or homeowners insurance policies?
We do. We work very closely with a number of insurance companies, really all of them. I've been with the company 6.5 years. And at one point in time, we've done the work with all of the insurance companies, which little fact that a lot of people may not know, the insurance companies actually set our prices for us. So that's part of what I get to do, is I get to speak to insurance companies on behalf of ServPro, learn how they want to do things, and just kind of fill in that gap between ServPro and the insurance companies.
Awesome. Okay. So what would you say, in the time that you've been with ServPro, what do you feel like is the most rewarding aspect of the work that you get to do?
I'm glad you asked. So like I mentioned earlier, I grew up in this community, Prattville, Montgomery, Wetumpka, all that. I grew up here. This is my community. This is where I was raised. I still live here. My children are being raised here. And the fact that I get to do something that gets me not only involved with the community, but I can help the community in situations, it's very, very rewarding for me. And that's one of the reasons I love my job.
So what advice would you give to a homeowner, business owner that's facing a disaster? What are some things that you've seen people do? Like maybe they waited too long to call, or is there any like tips or things that, after the length of time that you've been there, that, some things happen, repeat over and over again. And if you could tell those customers like, hey, like don't wait, call now, or, is there any little tidbits of things you could offer? Yeah,
exactly. Be proactive. You want to try to catch things before they happen. Check your hoses on your refrigerator, your dishwasher, pull your dishwasher out every month or so, or every couple months, and check that hose to make sure everything is intact. Look under your sink to make sure you're not seeing any drips. Get your air conditioning system serviced regularly. Make sure your house stays climate controlled. And if you do run into something where you see a little bit of water, call us. Let us come out and look at it. We're not going to charge anything to come out and look at it. We've got the equipment to tell you exactly what's wet and how wet it is. We go on a number of calls where someone thinks they have moisture in their home, and we go out there and we run our meters on it and we check everything out. It's dry as a bone. But I would rather that than a customer call me after they had a water damage 2 weeks ago, and now they have a funny smell in their home. Because that turns into a whole different situation.
Well, and I think people underestimate just how fast something like that can spiral out of control. I mean, it doesn't take long before, mold or mildew, things like that start to just grow, especially in enclosed, you might see something on the surface, but enclosed spaces behind a wall void or somewhere like that. I mean, it just can get out of control really quick.
You're exactly right.
So, we're getting kind of close to the end of our conversation here, but you mentioned earlier ServPro is a huge company. It's a national company with that kind of small, more customer service oriented feel locally. But you guys have a disaster response team, right?
We do, yeah. Actually, at our location, not all ServPros have them, but we're lucky to have a disaster recovery team here locally in the Montgomery area, which means if we get a call from a property owner, yeah, they may have a property here in Montgomery, but they may also have a property in Atlanta or Indianapolis or anything like that. We have the capability to load up our tractor trailers with as much equipment as we can put in it and hit the road and be on site. Within a certain amount of time, we can start that drying process in maybe a 20-story hotel that's, like I said, in Atlanta. We can load up and we can be on site in a very short amount of time to start that process to knock it out for them.
Now, are there any other, unfortunately, disasters happen all around the world at any given day or time. Are there any notable cities that you've been able to travel to in your time with ServPro?
Yeah, we've done. So in my time, I know we've done work in one of the bigger towns in South Carolina. We do a lot of work in Charleston. We have a franchise in Charleston. We do quite a bit of work in Charlotte. Because I mentioned we've done quite a bit of work in Atlanta. We've been as far west as California. We've been as far north as Indiana, Illinois, and of course in the Florida, Mississippi, areas around here. But we've been nationwide since I've been here.
It's really cool that you're sitting there and disaster strikes, and it's just nice to know that you have that company able to respond quickly, like you said, boots on the ground, in your back pocket, so to speak. Like you do have someone to call. And I know disaster strikes and it can feel like the most hopeless situation for a homeowner or a business owner, but just knowing that there is someone there that's able to quickly respond, that does know what to do, that does have that experience, that makes all the difference in the life of somebody who's going through what quite possibly could be the worst moment of their life.
Right.
So if someone were to need to contact ServPro of Montgomery in an emergency, what's the best way to reach you or to reach ServPro of Montgomery?
Yeah, the best thing to do is actually call me. Call me on my phone. You touched on it earlier. One of the great things about ServPro is we are national. There are thousands of franchises, but we are locally owned and operated. I have I keep my cell phone here. I've been in line at Disney World, getting ready to get on the Peter Pan, and I got a phone call about somebody's house, flooding, and I was able to get everything put in, and we were at the house within 2 hours getting everything dried out. So that would be my recommendation. Quickest way is just to call me. Like I said, that phone stays on my hip 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I love it.
Right. All right. And is there any other, websites or social media areas where people can learn more about ServPro of Montgomery if they wanted to go and take a look at, all of the service offerings, things maybe we didn't touch on while we were talking today?
Yeah. So you can go to servpro.com, or you can just Google ServPro Montgomery, Alabama, because there is a ServPro in Montgomery in another state as well. So ServPro of Montgomery, Alabama takes you right to us.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Ryan, again, thank you for taking time out of your day today to really enlighten us on your involvement with ServPro and what it is that ServPro does, not even just locally, but nationally. We really appreciate it. It's been great learning a lot more about the company that you work with.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Google Peskies Pest Control Montgomery.